Good morning. Well, welcome everyone back to Torah Learning Online. We were doing Shaar Habitachon, which has now been completed, and Hashem, in 2 weeks we are going to start Tanya again. So for all of you who enjoyed the Tanya class that we did a couple of years ago, we're back at it. If you want to pick up the book called The In-Betweeners by Rabbi Miller, feel free to get the book, and that's what we will be using for our class on Tanya. But for meanwhile, if you have any loose change on you, you got a tzedakah box. Always important to start the day with tzedakah. Okay, good morning. Wow, it's been a long time. With all the holidays, it's been forever, I feel like, since we've done the classes. Okay, Boker Tov. Good morning, Corinne. Good morning, Stella. Boker Tov, everybody. It's nice to see you. Corinne, hope you're doing well. Hi, good morning, Helga. Let's see who else is joining us. We'll see our friends that we haven't seen in ages. Okay, it's going to be wonderful. Okay, so my question I posed this morning was, how was my grandfather, who was a survivor from the Holocaust, how was he able to set up a home with joy, with love, with positivity, with kindness? How did that actually become an actuality? Helga, the book that we're talking about for Tanya is called The Book for In-Betweeners by Rabbi Chaim Miller. I'm going to put down the name of the book when I finish the class. I'll put it down, and I'll even put down the bookstore that you can buy it in Toronto. Okay? But my question I'm posing today is, and I don't know how many of you are children or grandchildren of Holocaust survivors, how is it possible to bring up a family post-World War with positivity, with compassion, when they saw so much hate, so much negativity, so much brutality? How is it possible? Anybody want to put down something here in the comments that will give us some of your understanding of how it is actually possible? Because when you see hate and murder and chaos and anger and hostility, how is it possible to grow up and be different? How do you raise a family that's different than what you have been raised? Now, my Zaide was raised for many years by beautiful, beautiful parents, his grandparents, but then he suffered for 6 years during the whole Hitler Yamach Shemov, during his regime. And he had to run, and he saw his parents murdered. He saw 9 of his siblings murdered. How do you then come out of this hellhole? And how do you raise a family that still has beauty, that still has good? Good morning, Rosalie. Good morning, Arlene. Good morning, Ilana. Good morning, Helga. Good morning. So actually, before we get into this question, I wanted to say that today's class is in honor of Refuah Shalema for Arnold Brody, and in memory of a very, very, very dear friend of mine, Yonit Bas Ze'ev Miriam, who passed away Erev Shabbos, also known as Jeanette Karp. So today's classes will be in honor of these Yonit's Neshama, and for Refuah Shalema for Arnold. We're going to say Tehillim. Again, if you joined late, please give tzedakah, and we will start off with chapter 20, which by now you should know by heart. Lamanatzech Mizmor LeDavid Yancha Diner B'Yam Tzarei Yisagef Hashem LeYaakov Yishlach Ezra Mikodesh U'Metzion Yisadeka Yiskar Kol Mechasecha V'Alos LeYidash Nesela Yitin Lecha Chavavecha V'Chol Atzascha Yimale Nirane B'Shuasecha V'Shem Eloheinu Nigdol Yimaleh Adonai Kol Mashalosecha Ati adati ki yoshia dina mishicho, yane mishme kacha begvuras yesha yemino. Ela verecha ve'ela vasusim v'anachnu b'shem Adonai Eloheinu naskir. Hema karu v'nafalu v'anachnu kamnu v'nisodad, and say together with me, Adonai Hoshia Hamelech Hanenu V'yim Kareinu. Lord God, deliver us. May the King answer us on the day we call. Hashem should give refuah shlema to Arnold Brody, and may your nitz bat Ze'ev Miriam Neshama have a lichtika aliyah, a lichtika Gan Eden. And for all of you, I'm wishing you a Gemar Chasima Tova, and now we're back into it. What I was saying about the Tanya, Corinne, is that we are going to be starting in 2 weeks in Mitzvah Hashem. We will be starting, maybe next week, we will be starting Tanya again. Now, many of you were with us, Tanya, online, but you joined late. So now we're going to be starting again from the beginning, a little bit more in depth, so getting into the more layers. You could be sure that the year that we learned Tanya, we didn't even begin to uncover all the levels and levels of insight and beauty and awareness of the Tanya, but we will be doing that. You'll be able to buy this book. There's a fellow in Thornhill. His name is Mr. Grin. I will post his number later, and I will also post the name of the book that I would love you to purchase, and then we could learn it together. So good morning, Arlene. Good morning, Barb. Good morning, Joanne. Good morning, Sophie. And good morning to everybody. This is exciting, and we're back into it. Okay, so the question I posed is, how is it possible for Holocaust survivors to build their home with love, with kindness, with charity, with compassion, when they themselves witnessed horror and horror? Hey, good morning, Bensi. They witnessed so much horror and devastation and destruction and such animosity. How do you transform that experience and suddenly build happy families? My Zaide, my Shaliyahu, was an incredibly warm, compassionate person. But how did that happen? Yes, Corinne, you are correct. Unfortunately, history repeats itself. But I'm telling you that what we have to focus on is our families and our children, and try not to be distracted. Like we have to speak to politicians, which my husband and I are very involved with, but we have to really focus inside our homes, our communities, and not get distracted. We have to rebuild, because, Corinne, cynicism and sadness and retreating is what many Jews are doing. They're saying, well, it's so terrible outside anyway. We have idiots like Kanye West who have horrible comments. We're done. The Jews are done. The Jews are never done. And if you would have been in my shir last week, you would know that we as Jews, it was actually a shir that I gave at Shul, so it wasn't live. We as Jews have had a very challenging existence. We have had horror from every single generation. We have suffered every generation. In fact, before Moses showed the Jews Israel, and he said, I'm not going to make it in, but you will. He actually said to them, don't get too comfortable. You're not going to stay in Israel too long. You are going to have challenges in every single generation. That is almost like halacha. Esav Sona es Yaakov is a law, and we see it repeating itself. But listen to this, my friends. We may have been, hurt and massacred by the Romans, by the Egyptians, by the Greeks, by the Nazis, by the Russians, by the communists. But guess what? They are dead. We are here. Jewish peoples, Am Yisrael Chai. We have a very, very challenging existence, but we have a glorious life. We have a life with meaning. We have a life with purpose. We have a life with joy, a life of giving. Yes, we have to deal with idiots like Kanye West and idiots that are out there in social media. We know those idiots, but they are not determining our future. They're a bump in the road. They are a pimple on the face. They are nothing. because we do not determine our existence, our joy, our Yiddishkeit based on those anti-Semites. We have to fight them. We have to shut them down. We have to fight them all. But they do not represent our life here. We have shuls, we have schools, we have children's programs, we have lectures, we have Shabbatot. We have so much going on. We cannot allow their hate to determine how I'm going to live today in 2022. And this leads right into my share today. Thank you. Hey, good morning, Tova. Good morning, Pam. Great to see you all. Okay. So this week's Parsha, is anybody know? Put down in the comments. Who knows? What's this week's Parsha? I'm going to give you 10 seconds to put that down in the comments. This week's Parsha, we started a new Chumash last week. As you know, we concluded the Torah and Simchat Torah. And this past Shabbat, we read Parshas Bereshis. What is this week's Parsha? I want to see all my smart friends. Please put it down. This week's Parsha is, come on, Marilyn, Lynn, let's go. What's this week's Parsha, Rosalie? Is it Bosch? I know you're trying to write something else. What's this week's Parsha? Please put it down. Gotta see my smart friends. Okay, this week's Parsha is Parshas Noach. That's right. It's very funny. It came out as Bosch. This week's Parsha is Parshas Noach, and there's a fascinating story in the Parsha. Good morning, Arlene. Good morning, Sharon. This week's Parsha. Hey, good morning, Leslie. Welcome. So the Parsha talks about two birds that Noah sends out. Wait, by the way, guys, I really would like today's class to be interactive. So get your fingers ready. You're going to help me with answers, okay? Just makes me excited about giving one-on-one classes here. Exactly. So we have two birds that Noah sends out to determine if the earth is now ready for humanity. There was a flood, a terrible flood that came down for a year straight. Noah and his family and all the animals were hunkered down in this teva. But now the year is over and Noah wants to know, can we get off of the teva? Can we start and rebuild humanity? So the first bird he sends is which bird? Anybody remember? The first bird he sends out is the raven. He sends out the raven once and it comes back. He sends out the raven again, it comes back. And then he sends out the raven again. So he sends out two birds. First the raven, and then, like Hella accurately said, he sends the dove. Now, can you describe to me what kind of bird is the raven? It is a disgusting bird. Not only is it not kosher, but it is actually considered a very dark, angry, evil bird. Anybody know why? Why does the raven have such a bad rap? I used to have a nest of ravens in front of my house. And like you said, Corrine, they were so aggressive and they were so scary. And I actually had someone come and chop down that area because I just had to get rid. They felt to me like a birds of bad omen. In fact, you know they are not kosher because they are, as you said, Arlene, a wicked bird. The Torah says actually in Tehillim in chapter, I think 147, David HaMelech says that God has to feed the children of the raven because he does not take care of his babies. Have you ever heard of an animal that deserts their child? That's the raven. Very, very wicked, aggressive, angry, and they attack. Yes, they are attackers. They are just scary birds. I have some very, very uncomfortable memories of a raven. And so when I'm reading the Parsha, it's like, wow, this is what the raven is. And so we're told that Noah sent the raven out. Some commentaries actually say he just got rid of him. He's like, get out of my teva, get out of my ark. But other commentaries say that he was sent out to see if the land was dry. Finally, after the raven leaves, Noah sends out which bird? And I think Helga mentioned it. Which bird does Noah send? The dove. And what does the Torah tell us about the dove? You know, Song of Songs that King Solomon wrote, Shir HaShirim, talks a lot about the dove. He actually compares the dove to the Jewish people, that our relationship to God is like one of a dove. Tell me a little bit about what you know about the nature of the dove. Because we know that the dove was sent out by Noah, and he was out for 7 days and came back. And then he went out again for 7 days, and this time he returned with what? What did he return in his beak? Anybody remember the words from the Torah? What did the dove come back with? He came back with an olive branch. Such a symbol of peace. Today, people use the dove as a symbol of peace. People use the dove as a symbol of love and romance. Right? So the dove is that symbol. First of all, dove is one of the birds that only has one mate and stays aligned and respected to this mate, as opposed to other animals that, have relations with an animal and then go off and find another one. Not the dove. And that's why a dove is that symbol. Many times you go to a wedding, and then after the chuppah, they'll let out a beautiful basket of doves, symbolic of love, intimacy, connection, dedication, trust, caring. There you go. So the dove represents love, connection. The raven represents anger, hostility, darkness, black. It's interesting because the dove in Hebrew, the word is arov, which actually has the word erev, darkness. It also has the word ra in it, right? Ra. And if you look at the word, you can actually twist it. It says the word avera, which is the Hebrew word for sin. So there's a lot of negative connotations attributed to the raven, and the dove, the Yonah, has love and light and dedication and caring and living, all these beautiful words that you are contributing to the dove. So we have here two birds that Noah sends out to see if the world is ready. And so the commentaries I'm going to choose today talk about a very interesting insight that Noah had. First, he sends the raven because he says, God destroyed the world because there was too much promiscuity, too much devastation. We need to rebuild the world. I think we need to build the world with toughness. And it's interesting because Kabbalah and Hasidus actually align these birds to two traits. The raven is attributed to Gevura. Anybody remember? All of my Tanya students? Anybody remember what Gevura means? Gevura is strength, criticism. The dove is love and chesed. And Hasidus says, these are two attributes that Noah looked at the world and he says, how does God want us to recreate the world? Probably with Gevura. Because the world before was full of chesed. There was kindness. God gave so much of himself. And look what the world did. They gave him back such chaos, a world of so much negativity. I think we have to rebuild the world with the raven, with Gevura. So he sent out the bird once, twice, 3 times, and the raven brought back no positivity. So then Noah says, aha, I think Hashem wants to send out the world with the dove. He wants to rebuild the world with love and compassion. And so he sent out the dove, and this time the dove came back with the olive branch, symbolizing the world is ready for chesed. Think about our homes. Think about homes that you know. You can have a home that's based on gevura, a lot of rules. This is going to be a house with rules, with critique, with the truth, with strength. My children are going to know, and they're going to know, and my husband's going to know, and I'm going to be. Phew. My Zaide saw the Holocaust. He lived through the Holocaust. He saw death. He saw anti-Semitism. Like you said, Corrine, he saw a lot of Kanye Wests. He saw millions of Kanye Wests. Despicable, horrible, ignorant, murderous people. And he came out of the Holocaust with chesed. He said, we're not going to stoop so low. We're going to rebuild our homes with love and light and joy and kindness and compassion. You know, as a little child going to my Zaide's house in Montreal, I had heard about the Holocaust at the age of probably 10, 11, but I never thought my grandfather was a survivor because he was so full of joy. There was no way that he was raised in a home that he was ripped apart from his parents. And he ran through Poland, and he ran throh Shanghai, and he ran through the forests, barefoot and hungry and dirty. He lived in sewers, my Zaide. How was he able to rebuild a home with so much joy? And all of you, my friends who watch every week, you'll know, my Zaide has today over 500 descendants. Very, very beautiful, joyous and loving Jews. So most of us today are on shluchas, building communities all over the world, from Double Bay in Australia to Chicago to Montreal to America to South America. Everywhere there's a descendant from Zaide. In fact, my cousin from Israel just moved to freezing Winnipeg to start a Chabad house with her husband, bringing joy and love. How did he transfer this to his children and to his grandchildren and his great-grandchildren? Because he built his home on Gevura. He chose to build his home with the love of a dove. Excuse the rhyme. We have to realize that although we have had so many challenging years in our life as Jews, we still have within us, in our DNA, the ability to have chesed and to transfer that to our children. Arlene says, I never understood how my late parents who survived the Holocaust wanted to rebuild life with Judaism, Jewish holidays. It meant more to them than I could ever understand. Yeah, we understand now, Arlene, that our parents and our grandparents and us, we have a very, very, very strong genetic makeup. And it's not just what we see and experience. We have the DNA of our grandparents and our great-grandparents, all the way back to, Sarah, Rivka, and Rachel, Leah. And they have instilled in us and given us the ability to raise our homes and to rebuild our homes the way it was meant to be. So was Noah wrong? Let me ask you a question. Was Noah wrong with sending out the raven? Because the raven's all about, as you said, Gevura. Tell me if you think that was a wrong move. Okay, let me just see. That's right, Helga. Very nice. Yeah, beautiful. Anybody know what would be the reason that Noah would have sent out the raven? If we know, we're smart, right? We know that the dove is the way to start the new world order with love and compassion and light and kindness. Why would Noah misunderstand and send out the raven? which is so full of gevura, and darkness, and anger, and depravity, right? Why would that be a way to start the new world order? Anybody? Okay, I'll give you time to put it into the comments. Or maybe I'll make it easier for you. Do you think sending out the raven first was a good choice? Do you think it was a good choice to send out the raven first and then follow through with the dove? With the dove. Anybody? Because my feeling is that our world needs the raven, the borders, the boundaries that the raven represents. But inside our homes and inside the Jewish world, it's full of love. So sometimes we need those ravens. Sometimes we need that gevura, exactly sometimes. Sometimes we need that gevura to carry on. But it must be overcompensated with the dove. And I think that is the message. We have to have the raven hovering in a way to give the strength, because we need those boundaries. But to really build solid homes, solid schools, solid shuls, that can't just be with the raven. That's got to be the dove. That's got to be the kindness that we're talking about. So we do have sometimes the raven that protects with the strong borders. And I think it also gives another message. Today we're a lot of families that I know personally, and you could share with me if you know the same. We're struggling with young people who have a lot of PTSD, a lot of trauma, and a lot of anxiety. I think there's ever been a generation. I mean, it's strange in a way, because we have so much materialism. We have so much therapy and opportunities out there. And yet we have so many young adults and young people that are struggling with addiction, whether it's drugs, porn. There's so much abuse out there. And you think, why? What have we all done wrong that there's so much out there? And the undercurrent is that there are a lot of bad, negative people there. And there have been a lot of children that have been turned off by people that should have loved them, but abuse them. And our children are saying, do I trust anyone out there? I was so beaten down. Can I trust anyone? And we say to them, yes. Even though there was so many ravens in your life, there are still so many doves out there that want to help you, that want to help you rebuild. Yes, we had 6 million that were murdered. 1.5 of them were children. Children. What did they ever do wrong? What did the 6 million do wrong that they deserved it? There was so much ravens out there, but we have to remember that there are still so many doves that are ready and willing to come back. So we have to be able to shove away all the cynicism out there. And, for any of you who watch my classes long enough, you'll know that one of the things that I can't stand more than anything else are cynical people. You're having a beautiful, warm Shabbos class or a Shabbos meal or a lecture, and you have one cynical person, and they dampen everything that you've tried to build. You're teaching about the beauty of marriage. You're teaching about the beauty of Jewish education. You're teaching about the beautiful Shabbat meal. And someone goes, oh, really? And what about? And they bring that animosity in, or that cynical. And I actually, listen, King David speaks about it in Tehillim. He says, Ashrei ha'ish asher lo halach ba'atzis Hashem u'v'derech hatom lo amad u'v'moshav leitzim lo yashav. You know what leitzim means? I'm going to have a Tehillim right here. He says, fortunate is the man that has not walked in the counsel of the wicked, nor stood in the path of the sinners, nor sat in the company of scoffers. Cynical people are always making jokes about everything. I stay away. Yeah, they're funny. No. That's not humorous. That is a scoffer. Moshav leitzim lo yashav. And I literally avoid such company because anytime there's anything good or spiritual, people are growing in the Yiddishkeit, people are connecting and doing something good, and someone will just make a joke. I just have to get up and walk away. I can't deal with it. Does anybody else feel like that? I see Arlene. You feel the same way? Anybody else get that? People that are always funny and everyone laughs and they'll do anything for a laugh. I avoid them because they take so much of the godliness that's in the ear and they just puff it out with ridiculous joke. They are downers, exactly. But let's end off on a very positive note. The raven was sent away. He did not bring back the olive branch. Noah said to the raven, get out of here and good riddance. I am going to rebuild the world with the love of the dove, with the olive branch, sharing with all of us that is the only way to rebuild a world. Not with the darkness and the aggressiveness and the wickedness and the evil strength of the raven, but through the love, the compassion, the humanity, the giving. And now we are in the month of Cheshvan. Today is Rosh Chodesh. Did you know that? So today we're starting, it's called Mar Cheshvan. It's called the bitterness of Cheshvan, but I'm telling you what, look outside. There's a lot of hope, a lot of beauty in the world. And we are together, all of us, we're going to bring more tzedakah and more compassion and more joy and more hope to our families, to our children. We're going to rebuild. We're going to reform. We are going to take the cues from our grandparents and our parents and make this world such a place that all the Kanye Wests and all those pathetic BDSers, those idiots that are out there in the campus making hostile environments for our Jewish children. Spread the news to our Jewish children. Don't get sidetracked by the haters. We are not existers. We are a nation of life and hope and love, and we are going to rebuild the world with the dove. Wishing you an amazing week. Have a glorious week, a beautiful month of Cheshvan, and we will see you next Tuesday.